Hi guys, my name is Jacob. Today we're working on a 2011 Kia Rondo. It should be the same from 07 to 13. It's a second generation. We have a broken spring on ours. So if you have a broken spring or a broken shock, it's nice to buy these quick strut assemblies. They make installation really quick. It comes assembled with the top hat. You don't need to own a spring compressor to do this. It's really relatively straightforward to put in. So let's do this today. Okay, this looks really easy, guys. So we're going to start by taking off 1, 2, 3 10 mils, and we'll get the brake line and the ABS sensor out of the way. And then we'll grab this, which is a 19 mil, and we'll hold a 17 wrench or something on here to blast those off. Now for the sway bar links, I'm replacing mine anyways, so I have brand new ones to put in. If you're going to reuse yours, you're going to want to undo it up here. But if you put a gun on this and you try to spin it out, what will happen is this ball will just spin inside this socket and it'll wear out this joint. So you're really supposed to put a wrench. See how it's slotted right here? You're supposed to put a wrench on the inside to hold it tight, and then back that nut out so you don't spin the ball inside. Since I'm replacing mine, I'm actually going to undo it down here, and I'll just take the whole thing out with the old link. I don't need to be gentle with it because I'm replacing it. Let's do this. Going to mention quickly, guys, I throw a dot of paint here just out of habit, because when vehicles like this go for alignment with this type of suspension, you can get eccentric bolts which have like a cam lobe on them, and as you turn that, it'll actually change the relation of the knuckle and the strut. I don't think these are that kind of hardware. I don't think these are eccentrics, but just a good habit to make an indication so you can put it back into alignment if it did happen to be like an eccentric bolt. Mine are seized up pretty good. I'm going to give some love taps with a hammer right here and try not to hit your harness. Make sure that's out of the way. This type of bolt has a very long nose on the end of it, so it would take a lot of damage before you damage the threads. We can afford to do a few love taps. An air hammer works great for this, but I'll use a hammer since you guys probably don't have an air hammer. Just a regular bolt, no eccentric, just rusty. I fear the bottom one's going to be very rusted in there. Okay, so these bolts will get cleaned up really well on a wire wheel. You can see that. And then we'll put anti-seize or never seize, because this is pretty common for these to rust. They're sitting inside of metal right here. So be careful when you pop all this back, that if you pull this knuckle assembly too far forward, your axle, the CV joint inside of it, is going to come out of itself. That's a real pain in the butt. If you're reasonably careful here, you don't need to undo this. If you're cautious or if you're nervous about that, you could undo the axle, but there's actually a lot of room on this. I wouldn't even worry about it. So I'm going to get this sway bar link out of the way first. Now I'll show you a trick. If you ever have two wrenches, you need more leverage, you hook one inside the other. Okay, we're going to pop these 3 nuts holding the top hat up there. You just need a wrench or a small socket, whatever. Here's a trick, get the hard to reach ones first, because this one's going to keep everything up tight, and it'll make it so you can crack these loose and probably spin them off the hand almost. Yeah, nice and smooth. So you can see right here, my spring is broken. That's where I fished this piece out. Buddy is lucky this did not puncture the tire. That'd be a wild ride. They look the same. Make sure all your mounting tabs are the same. Obviously left and right are different. And have a little arrow for the top hat, point to the outside of the vehicle. Everything looks good. Let's throw this in. Actually, you know what? Let's clean the hardware really quick and then we'll throw this in. Just reverse of removal. That we go in the same way. We got our ABS harness on one side, our brakes on the other. Don't scratch the fender. Now go up in the hole. Try to get your bolt holes all lined up. So I cleaned our hardware, got the rust off. I'm gonna apply anti-seize, never seize, to the shank of these bolts. And hopefully next time this has to be removed, it'll come out nice. Okay, so these three little guys, I'm going to put some anti-seize on the threads of these two. Cool. Now for the sway bar link, which is the reversal of removal once again. Okay. Congratulations, you guys. You just replaced your quick struts on your Kia Rondo 2nd gen. Pretty easy to do, not a big deal. It's much nicer to replace the entire assembly than it is to, you know, pull this out on the bench and then get it in a spring compressor, try to take it apart when, you know, the shock is just old. Everything's old. It would be a pain in the ass. This is a nice alternative. Now, something to touch on here is you should always replace both fronts at the same time. If you have a problem on one side, like I did with the front right, you just replace both. The vehicle will handle properly. The characteristics of how many oscillations these things go through in their lifespan is ridiculous. And just because one visually looks messed up, the other one is still worn. It's still tired. You want your vehicle to handle properly, do them as a pair. Something else to talk about here, make sure you go over everything and torque everything. Whenever you're dealing with suspension or wheels, it's very dangerous. Everything should be tight, everything should be torqued. You see, and I cleaned up the threads on those bolts that go through the strut to the knuckle. And I put some anti-seize on where they ride inside of the knuckle. Hopefully the next guy that takes this apart, it'll come apart easier than it did for me. Yeah, torque specs, double check. And congratulations, you successfully replaced your quick struts. If you found this video at all helpful, please shoot me a thumbs up. It'll help my little channel, and I'm going to keep making some how-to content. Thanks for checking it out.